So we're going to be talking about multifamily and everything to do with it because I do believe that multifamily is the best asset class there is. And here's just a few reasons why. And for those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Henry Eisenstein and I've been a part of over $450 million worth of real estate transactions and I'm only 28 years old. So again, in this video, we're talking about everything multifamily and why I am just such a big fan of the damn asset. The reason why I like multifamily first and foremost is because, listen, everyone needs housing, office and retail and all these other different asset classes. There's a lot of people who are looking for that type of property. However, multifamily, bar none. The reason why the banks love it, the institutions love it, like all that type of stuff. The reason why it's so favored is because everyone in the world needs housing. So as long as you have a pretty appropriate rent rate, so again, you're in a market where rents are appropriate. That means you're not trying to get crazy high rents as in the one luxury building in an area that really shouldn't have any luxury building. The reason why multifamily will always and forever be a top asset class is because everyone needs a place to live. Now, the way these things look and feel will constantly be evolving. And obviously multifamily buildings 100 years ago looked a little bit different than they look now. However, the fundamentals behind the multifamily world, which is just truly housing, is going to be with us forever. And you've heard this, I'm sure, just as much as I've heard it, is that we're slowly becoming a renter's nation. So not only are multifamilies going to have the constant and forever demand of people looking for housing, but people are also buying less homes now. That being said, people are going to be moving towards renting for longer. So that means the individual who is moving out in their late 20s are probably going to stay to their mid to late 30s, possibly, depending on how many kids, obviously. So it's just important to realize that things are kind of being pushed out longer. And obviously when the kids then eventually go off to school and they don't need a bigger space, they go back to apartments because it's easy living. People like renting. People like being able to just have a place to lay their head for a year and then guess what? If they want to move in a year, they'll move. And if they don't want to move, they're just going to renew. It's just important to know that these multifamily assets are going to be a fantastic investment for investors everywhere, brokers everywhere to use as an asset class to both sell and buy for the next couple decades. It's going to be a very, very important asset class to be paying attention to. I did say the banks love it and the institutions love it. Why did I bring that up? Because I think it's important to follow the money. So if the big institutions and the large private equity firms are looking into these types of assets, it's incredibly important to pay attention to it. You know why? Because again, follow the money. If the big time dogs are going after this type of asset class, it might be important to look at it as well. The cool part is these large private equity groups are obviously going after multifamily real estate for a specific reason. Obviously, they have a lot of the same thoughts I do, and actually, if you really think about it, and I know this for sure, and I'm just going to be blunt, I'm obviously just following their lead. I love the asset class because I obviously own a lot of multifamily, and at the same time, I do believe in that I don't need to be the smartest person. I'm just really good at following very smart people. So again, if all the smartest people out there who are going out and buying a lot of these types of assets, I'm just gonna follow their lead. Let's break this down for a quick second. If you were to think about what asset class also the banks love to buy or love to be brought, right? Love to lend on. What do you think what asset class that was going to be? Well, it's multifamily for sure, considering I'm making this video. Banks are in love with multifamily real estate because they also know that there's a lot of value to this type of asset class long term. They're not worried about getting the asset back. Hypothetically, they're not worried about the client defaulting. They would love the asset because they know it's a really, really strong building. And this is also why, if you look at any asset class, why do multifamily properties have the highest loan to values? Where most asset classes are a 60, 70, maybe 75% loan to value, multifamily commonly has been up to 80% and has been like that for quite some time. So if you're wondering why banks will lend up to 80%, it's because again, they know something. They would continuously lend on these types of assets with higher LTVs, loan to values, than any other asset class because again, they don't mind if they get the property back and they know that the property will more likely perform over time. And why will that be? Because, next point, multifamily properties have very low vacancy rates. And obviously the reason for high occupancy rates is because there's just such crazy demand because the nation is becoming a renter's nation. So if you're looking at the next investment property, you should probably be looking at multifamily. It's just a very simple thing for people to also conceptualize. When you're looking at industrial or office or retail, it can be a little bit more complex. Multifamily is pretty straightforward. Now, if you're wondering, the last few points here are really, really crucial to pay attention to. My favorite is, I believe, and I've seen this in the past and I've seen this everywhere, and I'm curious to get your feedback in the comment section down below, is I believe multifamily is probably the most recession-proof industry or asset class that there is. And the reason why I believe it's recession-proof like we've said in the past, is because everyone needs a place to live. So even during the pandemic, people were still paying their mortgage. They were getting all these stimulus checks and they were using that money to not only buy some things, but they were also using that to pay their bills. So while so many other asset classes were struggling during the pandemic because people weren't going out and then conducting the business as normal, people were living in their apartments and then still paying rent. I know, and I've heard from a lot of articles and a lot of friends here, rent collections were above 80 to 85% even during the recession, which is insane to think about because no other asset class was like that. There was not an 85% or higher rent collection in office or retail or industrial, not even close. In this instance, multifamily has just blown everything else out of the water. And the last thing I just want to bring up is, for those of you who are thinking about investing in properties, it's not only about the high occupancy rates, which are fantastic. Banks will lend very reasonable terms on multifamily. It's a pretty simplistic asset class overall, and a lot of private equity firms are looking at this asset class more than anything. Well, what else is there to say other than it's probably just the best asset class to get started with when it comes to your very first investment property. And for somebody like yourself who might want to buy an investment property in the future, buying a 2-family, 3-family, or 4-family just to kind of dip your toe in the water can be a very simple way to get started. But more than anything, the reason why I love multifamily is because a large majority of investors are looking for that type of asset class. And the reason why this is exciting for me is because as a commercial real estate broker, and for you, why you should get excited is because of two different sides of the coin. If you find a multifamily, there's probably always going to be a buyer, first and foremost. There's more buyers looking for multifamily properties than almost any other asset class out there. And there's always more people looking. Plus, on top of all of that, that means if you're buying that property, you find a multifamily and it's a good deal and you buy it, that means there's also more than likely going to be another buyer down the road who's going to want to buy it off of you. So that way you can make some money as well. There's always going to be more clientele who are constantly looking for this asset class more than any other asset class, which is a fantastic thing if you're a broker because you're going to have constant people who are always going to be out there looking for more property for you to sell them to. So if you can find great multifamily properties, you're going to have a lot of people to sell them to. And if you're on the investment side, as an investor myself, it's really awesome to know that I can buy a property in a year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 later, someone's going to probably pay me way more than I paid a few years ago because everybody's looking for multifamily. It's kind of like that hot new thing. That's why I love multifamily, and I'd love to get your opinion. What is your favorite asset class and why? Sell me down in the comment section below. Do you agree with me with multifamily or do you have another opinion? Love to read all those comments and hear all your opinions. Besides that, guys, hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you next week. If you're still watching this video, that means to me that you're a committed real estate agent and you're looking to take your life and business to the next level. I'm just curious. Why have you yet to schedule your free, no obligation coaching consultation? All you have to do is simply go in the description down below, and people are telling me this call has been the most unbelievable, the most powerful call they've had in their entire career. And here's just a few of the individuals who have taken full advantage of this call. And my mission is to support as many realtors as possible, build a 6- and 7-figure net income business so that they don't have to rely on this industry anymore for their everyday income. If you're a committed realtor, which I can see like you are, all you have to simply do to take full advantage of this free coaching consultation is to go in the description down below and schedule your free call now.